Who's excited this morning? Come on, guys. Who's heard of Gojek before? Who took a Gojek today? Nobody took a Gojek today? Did you use a different one? That's okay. Traffic was not easy today, let me tell you. You probably live upstairs at the Pullman. So anyway, today I wanted to take you through a little bit of a journey of understanding consumers and why is it that Gojek works. You can say so well. And if anybody knows about the history of Gojek, so people always ask me, how is it that Gojek became so popular? How is it that how did it become so successful? Can it work in country A, B, C, D, E, F, G? And the answer to that is I don't know. And the reason for that is because when you take a look at the core of what Gojek is, it's based on the Ojek culture that's existed here for years. In 2010, who took a Gojek in 2010? Does anybody remember a Gojek in 2010? No? Nobody wants these retro jackets? This is what Gojek looked like in 2010. So only in the last couple of years have people been talking about, you know, Gojek is doing this and Gojek is changing that. But we've actually been around for 7 years. So this was the first application right here. And this is how you ordered. You called, and then they would call you back, and tell you exactly how it was. So since then, it's evolved to this, where right now in 50 cities we have hundreds of thousands of drivers, and the application evolved from something like this to where we are today. Interesting thing, though, a lot of people talk about how Gojek is an online ride-sharing platform. This was the application from day one. So it wasn't just about online ride-sharing. It was about courier, it was about shopping, and we'll get into a little bit of why that is relevant. But one thing to keep in mind, so this was January 2015. Take a look at this. In December, there's already GoFood. And this is one of the points that I wanted to make about understanding consumers, because what we did was we took a look at the types of orders that were coming in on the shopping feature, and 98% of them were food. So, well, the data is telling us that we need a separate food section. And that's turned into the fact that I have, if you take a look at my picture from before, I look much skinnier because, yes, I have gained 13 kilos because of GoFood. So this is what it looks like today, and it's become this ecosystem of things. And when you take a look at what Gojek believes in, we believe in just making things easier and making things better. Right? It's removing the artificial friction that life just puts on us. So a couple of fun facts. There was 100 million bookings completed in the first 14 months of existence, from January 2015 until April 2016. I can confirm that in December 2016, we did 100 million orders. So from 14 months to now, in 1 month in December, that was done. Out of those orders, way back in the day, 15 million were food. So you can say that people are either really hungry or really mager, and they want to go get it. But when you think about it, when you have to deal with what we have to deal with every single day here, this seems like a lovely, lovely option. We have over 120,000 GoFood partners. So actually, from GoFood, it makes us one of the largest, if not the largest, food delivery service outside of China. And obviously, the categories in China are in a whole different, it's just a whole different planet in terms of scale and size over there. But when you think about it, why is this relevant? Because all of a sudden, hundreds of thousands of small and medium enterprises have a chance to exist. Because previously, when you had to drive 5, 6, 10, 20 kilometers to Pisang Goreng Bunani, Did you drive 5, 10 kilometers to Pisang Goreng? Who's ordered Pisang Goreng Bunani before? Right? Raise your hand up really high, so everybody can see it. Right? I know you've ordered it. You raise your don't deny it. Right? Who has actually been to the store and seen it? Oh, only 2, 3, 4. See, not that many. About 900 over 900,000 drivers registered, and up until now over 70 million total downloads. And this is across 50 cities in Indonesia. And why is this relevant? Because there's a new life that's been kind of injected into Indonesia for a variety of reasons that I'll go through in a little bit. So one of the very first ways that we put innovation into, how are we driving innovation, is we put motorcycles at the core, right? So when you take a look at some of the other players in the business, you know, a couple of years ago, I think you remember that everybody was talking about, you know, think global, act local. And this is exactly what we did, because we knew that, hey, in Jakarta you can't really get anywhere. And then they decided to start construction on public transport, and you can't even get anywhere. Even worse. So we put motorcycles at the core, and instead of just focusing on one, we built an on-demand ecosystem. And why is this important? Because people don't just need to get from A to B. They need to get stuff done. They need to eat, they need to shop, they need to send things. The third is inspiring entrepreneurs nationwide. And this is actually dear to me and dear to my heart, because Indonesia, if you take a look at some of the other statistics, there's 50 million small and medium enterprises in Indonesia, many of which, actually probably a very large proportion of which, are not yet online. Right? And in the last couple of years, the panel before was talking about small businesses and these opportunities, and what we've managed to do is we've actually inspired new businesses to open. Does anybody know who this fellow is over here? Kopi Tuku. Has anybody seen what Kopi Tuku looks like at noon every day? Looks like this. Those are not people waiting in line. Those are all Gojek drivers waiting in line. And all of a sudden, a small little business in Cipete that is 5, 6, 10 square meters maybe, has become a business where they can employ more people, right? They can actually buy more product. Despite Pisang Goreng Bunani being relatively unhealthy, if you think about how that passes on, how many farmers are actually back in work. How many people are, there was an article that came out recently where Bunani is actually paying for Hajj for 50 employees, 50. She is hiring and employing 50 people in her store, where 2 years ago it was only 5. And last but not least, insight-driven communication. So does anybody remember this? Why was this so funny? Because it was gue banget. It hit home just because it was so true. So I'll play a short video from that short little case study video that we put in for this content. Please press play. There we go.
Beaches, breathtaking temples, wonderful food, and traffic. Jakarta is known for the worst traffic in the world. With over 19 million private vehicles, the city comes to a literal standstill during rush hour. One of the worst areas is an intersection in Kuningan, an important crossroads within the city. That's where our story takes place. Yes, story. You see, Gojek was created to tackle these infrastructure problems by giving motorcycle taxi drivers, Ojek, a phone and platform to receive orders. Millions of people can now avoid traffic every day by taking a motorbike instead of a car. At this particular intersection in Jakarta, we put up a billboard with a story to entertain commuters during rush hour while they sat in their cars. The story romanticizes a life where you can arrive in the office on time, get a quick snack before the meeting, chat with colleagues, getting home on time, having dinner with family, reading a bedtime story, and spending more moments with your loved ones. The story ends. If you're still reading this, then you haven't moved past the intersection. Next time, just take a Gojek. This offline execution became the talk of the town online. Consumers took to social media to express their surprise and delight. Some even suggested spots around town for the next story. Thousands of people talked about the campaign on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. The campaign reached over 55 million people in Indonesia, half the online population, and it was featured in some of the top newspapers and portals both in Indonesia and globally. So there you have it, our story about our story.
And why did this work? It was just really understanding people and understanding what we are as a company and what purpose do we serve as a company. So what I wanted to do is really talk about, it's not about being first, right? Yes, first has a little bit of an advantage, but there was this quote from Jason Fried, who's one of the founders of 37 Signals and Basecamp. And what you do is what matters, and not what you think or say or what you plan, right? So it isn't so much about being first, but it's about what you do, right? And in our case, it's about driving impact at scale, right? So we may not have the most innovative product that comes out immediately, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to really focus on how can these things that we innovate and how can these products that we release and how can these campaigns that we have drive impact at scale. So speed, innovation, and social impact are at the core of what we've done for the last 7 years. And this is kind of translated into the way the application has evolved, right? But at the core of everything, we've always had a social purpose. So how does Gojek understand its consumers? Well, it's really rooted in the fact that we become that unblocker of these artificial limits, right? A lot of we constantly get invited into to speak at companies to talk about, hey, how can we change our, what can we learn from your business model? Well, we were built on this from day one. We didn't add this to a program. We didn't say, hey, we are going to be sustainable. Hey, we are going to do this. But at the core of everything is a purpose and a value-driven proposition, and that is we will help you do this better or faster or easier or without the friction that you usually go through. So this is our reality, right? And this is Bandung. Doesn't matter if you're in Jakarta anymore. Everybody complains about traffic in Jakarta. Try going to Bandung on Saturday, right? I believe this is Medan. Same thing. We're all in the same boat, right? But the truth is, when traffic stops, life simply can't, right? And this vibe, this beat, the heart of the city can't stop. You can't say, hey IRX, please, can you just stop because the traffic is bad and I need to get there. No, it cannot. Life continues. It's like when some of us are marketers here. It's sometimes when people ask us to take down an article from the internet. Hey, can you please stop the internet because some stuff has to happen. No, it's impossible. So what we've managed to do is redefine mobility, right? So I'm going to share a little bit of a personal story. This is I don't just work at Gojek. I use it every single day. I'm going to share some cool statistics from last year. But here's my personal story. So there's two things in my life that I really enjoy, and that's photography and hanging out with my cat. This is my cat. And back in December, I had to take care of these 6 things. I had to buy a lens. I had to give back a lens, buy a camera strap, run an errand, buy cat food and buy cat litter, and for whatever reason, the cat food and the cat litter you cannot buy in the same store. It's really weird. So I mapped it out. I was curious. I said, okay, before Gojek, so in a world where there's Nojek, what would life look like, right? And we take it for granted. We forgot what life was like. So I said, okay, cool. What does that say? 66.5 kilometers to take care of these 6 things. Jakarta is a huge city, right? Does anybody see a problem with this? It says 2 hours and 52 minutes. What is the problem with this? I'm sorry, Google. You know, we love you guys. We work together quite a bit. But what is the problem with this? Exactly. Look at that. Without traffic. When does Jakarta not have traffic? Lebaran maybe. But then everything is closed. Right? So, yeah. This is the face that I had when I saw that. I was like, okay. So, you know, I had to get from A to B and take care of all these things. It said plus minus 3 hours, more like 9 hours. Actually, back in the day, what I would have done is I would have split the city in half and done the first half in one day, second half in one day. That is 16 hours of productive time that would have taken me to take care of these things that are actually not even relevant to my work. So I would have to take 2 personal days in order to take care of my stuff because some of these things don't work on weekends. With Gojek, it took me plus minus an hour, maybe 2. Right? But I ordered 6, and all these 6 things were getting done at the same time. My only headache was figuring out, are you the cat guy, or are you the lens guy, or are you the strap guy? Right? Because they all call you. Right? Is there a volume, please? I'll go back one again. Uh-oh. Oh, you're ruining my stats. There we go. So what we do is we remove these limits, right? And I wanted to share if for anybody who participated, at the end of last year we had this campaign where you could actually review all of the things that you did with Gojek last year. So I used 11 services. I used GoFood 131 times. I used GoCar 159 times. And I used GoRide almost 600 times last year. That's almost 2 GoRides a day. And take a look at these numbers at the bottom. 4,000 minutes, 3,000 minutes, almost 10,000 minutes. Right? So Gojek last year, the entire ecosystem saved me 170 hours of time. That's 15 days. So all of a sudden, you have these hours that you can do whatever it is you want with it. You want to spend it with your kids. You want to learn an instrument. You want to read a book. So sorry, it wasn't 170. It was 400 hours of time. So what did I do with my time? I published a book. So I do, like I mentioned before, I do photography, and I spent my 15 days of time editing and curating and finding publishers and looking at proof prints and actually publishing a book. And that was a goal that I had at the beginning of last year. I would like to publish a book, right? And this time that I saved allowed me to do that. So what does this actually mean? When you just Gojek it, you can hidup tanpa batas. When you Gojek it, you can live your life without limits. And the final point that I want to make here before we close, and what does this have to do with understanding consumers? Because we understand that our consumers, they all have goals in their life. They all want to achieve things in their life. And what we do is we understand what it is they want to achieve. And if you're in high school, your achievements and your dreams are different. When you're a first jobber, it's different. When you're in your career, it's different. When you've got a family and kids, your priorities change. And it's really about understanding what are these things that are important for people at different stages of their life, and how can you play a role in them. For us, it's about reducing these limits, and it's about making sure that these people have that time to do whatever they want to do and whatever goals they want to reach. Because previously it was all about you go, but now everything else comes to you. And Gojek is a toolbox that facilitates, it enables, it inspires. Once again, when you Gojek it, you can live your life without limits. Thank you.